just a little about his background. He comes from a satanic family, so he was born into this culture of a satanic abuse. And as a teenager, his family sold him to the CIA to become a assassin. So someone that did the bidding for these intelligence agencies. Let me play this right here.
It says, the caption says, "This is an image of Dare Sweet with his father and siblings at Disneyland in 1984. I'm the little boy on the right side of the image wearing a blue shirt. I was 6 years old in this photo, and this was the first year I was put through trauma-based mind control programming at the Disneyland facilities."
These children that they're using from these families or orphans or whatever pool they want to pull from, yeah, they're abusing them really bad. And there's this entire network, a whole different world people don't even understand exists. You have the people, all the people in this world, like you or the general population, a lot of people that are interested in this kind of stuff, for example, and they just have no idea about that different world. It's the world of the elite, the world of the satanic elite. People, like the Rothschilds or the Fords. And they live in a whole different world than the normal people. But these things are going on. And the Disneyland facility is a perfect spot to hide this stuff.
So I'm going to show some of his testimony about what happened to him at the park. And I was shocked to hear what happened and just how close these things happened to where the guests, when you go to Disneyland, like how close this happened. And for someone who grew up going to Disneyland, it's just really been a shocker to hear these things. I also have footage of my last trip to Disneyland and what I saw going on these rides. And with my new perspective, I was able to pick up a lot of things and very disturbing themes that are in these rides and contained within these stories that we grew up with. And Disney is probably top 2 or 3 most recognizable brands in the world. It's hard to find someone who doesn't know what Disney is, doesn't know that, the mouse ears. It's so ingrained into our culture and into our society. And it's been that way, I think, since Disney came out. Even my mom was inspired by Mickey Mouse and the Disney brand. And I did a previous video on this topic. It's one of my more consistently watched videos of all time. And I do a deep dive into the connection between Epstein and Disney. And I uncover some pretty strong connections, such as the Disney cruises, and they went to Little St. James, or Epstein Island, as part of the cruise. And so if you went on one of these cruises in the maybe 80s or 90s, there's a good chance you went to Epstein Island. And these are official documents. It's been verified. And I go into more detail in the previous video. So if you want to hear that, you can go to this video here. I'll try to link it at the end scene, but just in case I forget, this is the thumbnail. Also, Ghislaine was a kind of like a spokesperson for Disney in the UK. This is her giving out which is kind of ironic, she's giving out a check for Save the Children Fund. So yeah, she was involved with bringing awareness of Disney to the people of the UK. And, it's just something at least I never really questioned what was behind Disney and what are some of the goals and what are they trying to do. Of course, it's a very profitable brand and they provide a lot of entertainment. But when you really look into the ideas that they present, the entertainment they present, there are some very, sick things within the Disney brand. Okay, let me play. I'm going to kind of focus in on Disneyland. And here is JR talking a little bit about what happened. And I did bleep out like the really worst things, just for the sake of this platform I'm on. But if you want to see the whole thing again, you can go to Seth's channel. But here he is talking about the rides.
And they're trafficking. And there would be people that would under the park. You'd be programmed there, and there's just all kinds of stuff going on there. So for programming, there were different kinds of programming that you'd go through. But mine started, like you said, in '84, and it started out softer with softer programming, such as conversation with my father in the secret hidden area behind the theater, where I saw and experienced what's called world vision. And it's all these satellite images that were up on the walls. And my father walked me around and said, "Oh, wow, look at these. They have this technology that is incredible. Look at the detail." And then there was a picture of our house and the detail of it. And it just scares the hell out of you as a little kid. Like, wow, they have this technology. And my father, I come from a family of Satanists, and he said, Lucifer, Satan has given us this power, this technology. That's how we get it. He has given us this technology. And so they're bending your mind and they're working in. There's nowhere for you to hide. They're going to find you wherever. They have this technology. And so you have programming like that you're going through. And then you're also being taken off of rides. So you'd get on a ride like the Wild Toad ride, and you'd be taken on that ride. Well, I can remember riding with my father and my younger brother, because my younger brother was selected for the project too. And so we were riding with my dad, and then the ride would stop, the ride would break down. It would move forward to where they wanted to take you off, and they would always separate different cars in between the car that you were in, Seth, so that people couldn't see you. There'd be empty cars, and then someone came and got us, took us downstairs, and we were made to be to witness a satanic ritual down there under the park.
And it gets much worse as far as the rituals and the types of things that they would put these children through in these secret rooms. And I'll play a clip. This is my actual footage from the Pinocchio ride. Okay, so yeah, Pinocchio is one of those pretty blatantly, dark stories. The buying and selling of children is a big theme. Also, this this idea of putting spells, especially on children, putting them under a trance or putting them under the influence is very common with Disney stories. And here, they literally call it Pleasure Island, where he is sold to. And debauchery goes on. I know some of you probably know this, but I forgot until I went on this ride recently, and I started to pick up on these very dark themes. And most of them are quite dark. I mean, look at this, the rough house, and what happens to the boys. So they're all little boys that get sent to Pleasure Island. They turn into donkeys as they participate in this debauchery. And Pinocchio does drink and he smokes, and starts turning into a donkey, and then sold again to the salt mines to work on the salt mines. Mining is also seen a lot, very common theme. And I don't know that, I don't understand the mining, but it does come up a lot. But, Pinocchio is, I mean, technically he is uh, not a boy. He's I guess, a puppet put under a spell, a magical spell. So this, black magic theme is present very, very commonly. And then it's like they kind of like wake up from this horrible dream of being sold, and then it usually ends up being all okay in the end, that's not unique, but it's just I just noticed some of these themes that we see in Disney films, not just Disney, but just using that as an example. Okay, and then I'll play one more. I'll play this other one. He's going to talk about his experience being taken again.
And so they'd take you off rides in Disneyland and you'd be put through all kinds of programming. I can remember being taken off of many rides, the Alice in Wonderland ride, the Peter Pan ride, Wild Toad ride. And they would take you off and you'd be taken down under the park into the tunnel system to rooms. They would say things like service entrance, and that serve us in trance is how I heard Kathy O'Brien explain that. And that makes perfect sense to me because, yeah, serve us in trance. And you'd be taken down into those places, and then you'd be made to do things such as watching people, being made to make fee. It depended on what they wanted to do with you. Sometimes you'd be made to there'd be other kids there who are also being made to watch this. And I could remember them pulling from those kids and saying, "What are you doing here?" And then just slitting that kid's in front of everyone. And that was to let you know, like, you never know when they're going to do that to you. And so you're kept in this state of pure trauma. Like, you don't know when that's going to happen to you.
Yeah, so he says that these are happening like within the ride, under the rides, and this is how he would get to these rituals or these activities, these places of abuse. And the part I bleeped out is they were being unalived. Not necessarily him, but there were others that he had to witness become unalived. And that, like, I don't know if I could really bring myself to go back to Disneyland. And luckily, my kids aren't really like, they don't beg to go there. They're not like really into it. So I don't think it'll be a big problem. But just knowing that I've been on some of these rides many times. So I was really surprised to hear that these are the actual places where they do these things. Okay, I'm gonna play one more of the footage that I took from my trip, and this is Snow White. Okay, well, I'm not gonna play the music because it's probably copyrighted, but okay, this idea of mining. So the dwarves, they're miners. They mine for diamonds. So I don't know what the significance of that is. Maybe it's just, it is a big part of world culture. But yeah, Snow White is very dark. This theme of black magic, she's put under this spell by the witch. And the witch makes poison from brewing things. I'm not sure what it is. And she poisons an apple and poisons Snow White and then puts her under a spell. So again, this putting children or putting young people under a spell and then them coming out of it and everything being okay is a very common theme. So yeah, she goes to sleep with the poison apple and is awakened by the prince. And when she wakes up, it's like everything is fine. And, this is something that the mind control subjects or survivors are put through. They're hypnotized, they're traumatized, often drugged, and then put into an alternate state of mind to the point where ideally they develop a second or third personality, and then they're forced to do things under that other personality. And then their real personality, their real persona doesn't remember what the other ones did. But now a lot of people are waking up and remembering these things. I think it might have to do with the fact that the Epstein files have been released, and there's a lot of that involved with what he was doing. But yeah, a lot of people are coming out and speaking on this. And in my previous interview with Gray, he explained that there is a program that these victims are put under, which prevent them from coming out and disclosing this, like Gamma and Omega. So I'm not sure how some people are able to come out of it and not go through the Gamma and Omega. Gamma is Omega is the confusion, so they start acting very strange. And then I think Omega is the self-harm, the self-termination phase. I could have those mixed up, I'm sorry, but I don't know how some people get away from that and some don't, but it does seem like a lot of people are coming forward and remembering these things. And they're so, the things that they discuss they're so disturbing and so horrible that it's taken me a while to believe it, because it's just hard to imagine, people like adults putting their own family through this torture and, through these things. And it's, I can't explain that, but it's been around for a very long time. Ancient cultures, the ancient Egyptians did this to the pharaohs. It's been discussed throughout history, and we thought that it was done. I thought that our society had overcome these things, but it looks like it never ended. It just went underground. So, yeah, that's the main thing I wanted to discuss in this video. And I have one more. I didn't want to gross people out, but it gets much worse. And there have been times where I've watched a interview of a survivor and kind of regretted watching it, because it's so sickening and it's so twisted, and it's hard to see things the same, knowing that there's this program that exists and that there's so many people that have been through this programming. A lot of them don't know that they have. They might never know, but it seems like it's very prevalent, and it's not just the elites that go through this. It's throughout all socioeconomic backgrounds. And then I'll play a clip shortly where JR talks about the Hiltons and the Ford family and some very well-known families who are a part of this. And then this thing came up when I was at Disneyland, and the green dragon, I saw this a couple times. I believe this one I took from the Mr. Toad's Adventure ride, and um, I was like, "What? Why do they have the green dragon?" Well, first of all, Disney did a movie about a green dragon. It was like a friendly dragon who makes friends with this young boy. But there's also the Order of Green Dragon, or the Society of the Green Dragon. It dates back many, many years. I believe it originated in Tibet, and then it went to China, to Japan, and even the German Socialist Party. A couple, or one of their very high ranking members, was a member of the Green Dragon Society. And it's very esoteric. They use vril, prana, the life energy, the force. Asians call it chi. It's about harnessing this power to, to control things. These people can make things move with this energy. You can go online and see examples of this. And this is part of, the Green Dragon Society. I don't understand everything about it, but there are a lot of dark themes that I believe that they were into. But the German Socialist Party did look into where the origins of the Society of the Green Dragon came from. And I think they went to Tibet to find, I think it's the underground world of Agartha is where they think this came from. And maybe they found it, maybe they didn't, I'm not sure. And then the first indication that Disney was, affiliated with the Epstein and the SRA thing, I heard from the Sean Atwood show. He did an interview with Epstein's niece, or alleged niece. Her name is Anya Wick, and I'll play a little clip of her talking about Disney.
My great-grandfather, according to my father, was Walt Disney. Before he moved to the United States, his name was Artur Bick, Arturbickce. And his twin sister, who he had children with, who I am descended from, was named Minnie.
I have the Disney, one of his biographies written by Neil Gabler. I read the beginning, but there are indications that, so, a lot of people know the official story of who he was. And there's been a lot of media about who he really was. But as I was reading the biography, there are certain things that came up that kind of indicate there was something not accurate about the official story. If you guys want me to present some of that, I can. There's just so much about that. For example, the paternity of his, like, who his father was. Some were questioning it because he didn't have a birth certificate. So there is a little, like, maybe he wasn't the offspring of this man. Also, after he passed, the people that spoke about him, they all had different explanations for what kind of person he was. So there were like 40 different things that were said about him. He was this, he was that. The Club 33 is the kind of like elite club that you could pay a lot of money and be a part of, which is 33 is the Masonic number. So I don't think it's a secret that he was a Freemason, but I think it goes way deeper than that. And I think the important thing that we can be aware of, if you're just an everyday person, is to see the programming in the entertainment and in these messages, because our children are seeing it. it's almost impossible to protect them from this. You would have to take them out of school, not let them, have certain friends, because it's almost unavoidable. So I just try to, for me, I don't tell them, oh, you can't watch that. Don't do this, don't do that. It kind of I think that's kind of hard to raise a child like that. But I do kind of try to give them a little guidance and let them understand that this is not necessarily how things are, because they might see a movie and they think this is reality. And I think a big part of why these themes are put into entertainment is to normalize it, to make it like it's not such a big deal. I remember when I was a kid, like we would like get an apple and like put something in it and like pretend that we got poisoned and put under a spell. And yeah, this is like just ingrained in us, but these are not normal things. Like it's not normal to poison ourselves with an apple and like go under a spell. And I'll play one more clip, and this is not necessarily Disney related, but it does touch on this programming, this idea of entertainment as a programming tool. And I think it's worked so well that we don't even know we've been programmed. And I'll let you listen to this story. This is JR talking about the most dangerous game. I think that's what they refer to it, the most dangerous game. And it's about hunting. And I'll play this and comment a little bit on it after.
They made us take all our clothes off. And there were different families there. There was the Ford family was there. There was another family that was from a musical family involved in the country music industry. I haven't worked all that out, and so I don't talk about who those people were, but it was someone from the country music industry. And then the Hiltons were there, Richard with Nikki and Paris, and he had a couple of big dogs. And then there was us, my cousin and I, and then there was another van of orphans. We were told they were orphans, and they brought all these kids there. And then the command was given that everyone was supposed to strip naked. And so all of us kids, we all had to strip naked. And after we'd stripped naked, they started making us run across the grass in front of the big estate house there to the woods. There were some woods out across at the other end. And if I remember the Ford kid going, he went, and he was a skinny kid, and he just started running. I just remember watching this naked kid run. And then the Hilton girls were made to run. I remember them going, and then my cousin and I were made to run. And we started running, and when we were running out across the grass, I can remember the Hilton girls, Nikki, I believe it was, had sprained her ankle, and she was having trouble, and Paris was trying to help her. And I can remember looking at them, and in part of my mind, I was like, oh no, those girls are in trouble. This is really bad. They have to get away. They can't stay right there. They're screwed. And so I started to head towards them to help them. And when I did that, shots, I could hear rifle shots, or just, let's just say shots. I heard shots, and I could hear bullets going over my head. And oh my, I turned around and I could see my cousin coming, and he was just the terror. And he was just waving his arm, go, 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 run, don't stop, run, 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 run. And so I just turned and I started running, and it's sad. We just left the girls there. And we ran into the trees and we hid. I don't know for how long, Seth. I can't tell you how long we were hiding, but it was a horrible experience. You could hear the helicopters out there in the distance, and then the dogs and gunshots, and we just ran and hid. And at one point we came across this little girl, and she was a little girl that was one of the orphans. She was one of the orphan girls, and she was hiding, just hunkered up hiding. And we came up to her and we said, come on, you have to run. You can't stay here and hide. You can't hide. You have to run. And we convinced her to go with us. And so we all ran. And
Yeah, so it ends very, very tragically. The orphan girl doesn't survive, and they were put through more abuse. And please go to Seth's channel and you get the whole story. But I didn't leave like the really, really disturbing stuff in. Um, but you can always see that. But the reason I wanted to play that is because this thing that they experience, like being hunted, with weapons and helicopters, that's not a normal thing to know or to experience or to even know someone that went through that. But I think that is becoming normalized, or they're trying to make that a normal thing with like the Hunger Games, Squid Games. These things happen, and you see the hunting of groups of children. And I remember when I first saw Hunger Games, I was like, "Oh my God, they are marketing this to young people." I don't know if it's so much a children's thing, but it is kind of like a teenager marketed series, and it's really disturbing. If you haven't seen it, I would recommend seeing it, because this is kind of what I think we will see more going forward, and it's certainly not normal. And I don't think it's good for us, especially for children, to think that this is how things are. Like, oh, we might get hunted one day and have to go to war with each other as children. And I think it's a very dangerous precedent to be giving to young people, because I can't think of a single person that actually went through being hunted. And I would hope most of us don't know what that's like, living in the US. I understand there are areas of the world where that does happen to children, but I feel like that is something that's kind of being implanted, more so now, and kind of just we're starting to become like desensitized to that, which shouldn't be the case. Like, we shouldn't accept that as entertainment, and we shouldn't normalize that. I really don't think, but that's the main thing I wanted to share today. And again, if you want to hear more background of Disney, Epstein, and ball worship, you could watch my previous video. Also, if there are themes that you saw, because sometimes I miss things, and I know my audience is very intelligent, please put them in the comments or put them in the chat, and let me know, because I often hear things from you guys that I didn't notice at first. But yeah, that's going to do it for today. Thank you guys so much for being here and your participation. And if you can put some insight in the comments, I do read a lot of that. And if you notice other themes, or you have inside information to this topic, yeah, it's very helpful. This is kind of how I learn, because I can't look this stuff up, right? You can't always find this information by going to Grok or searching on Google. So yeah, any insight you guys have, please put them in the comments. And thank you guys so much for being here, and I will see you all soon, probably Friday at 3 again. It will be my next live. So thank you so much, and I'll see you all soon. Bye.
They piece it together. They ask why every hit